Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. We'll be starting right away. We'll be continuing in our discussion we started last week on anatomy and pharmacology. So we've been able to go through the cell system, the tissue, the body system. So today we'll be looking extensively on the body system. And so that from next week, we'll start looking at some specific pharmacological products that act on some of these systems. Okay, so once again, my name is Innocent. So I'll be taking you through this class. So please take note of this assignment, and I will send on chat where you will the email address to send your assignment. So my email address is innocent.ekeleme@gmail.com. So I'll type that in on chat right away, so you can send your assignment to this email address. So there are two assignments, that's for last week and for this week, because last week we did not do any assignment. So the assignment reads briefly, just compare and contrast the internal organs and the external organs. So you're going to do a comparison and a contrast of the internal and external organ. Then what are the differences and similarities between the internal and external organ? Then itemize the similarities in the internal organ of the bodies. So you're going to look at all the internal organs of the body. Then you are going to itemize the similarity. Can you attend to this? Okay, so this is another assignment. So you're going to do these two assignments. Send them differently. They are for last week. The one I sent earlier is for last week. This is for this week. You're going to discuss the body system, interdependency, and interrelationship. So what's the interdependency and interrelationship between the body systems? Then you're going to do a detailed discussion of the body system to the cell level, buttressing your point with diagram backup. So the body system, you're going to discuss them to the cell level, then use diagram to explain. So back to what we are doing last week, we know that in the body we have 11 systems in the body. Okay, so the integumentary, the skeletal, the muscular, the circulatory, respiratory, digestive, urinary, immune, nervous system, endocrine, and the reproductive system. So today we're going to look at them one by one. We've already done this in our last class. We started from the respiratory system in our last class. Okay, so today we'll be going, this is the schematic description of the respiratory system. You have the lungs, which is the main organ. This is where you have the exchange region, the capillaries from the blood that brings deoxygenated blood, and deoxygenated blood and oxygenated blood transfer at the membrane of the bronchi capillaries in the lung. So breathing is either through the nasal cavity mostly, but also breathing can also be through the oral cavity. So through the nostril to the larynx, to the pharynx, it goes down through the trachea region. Then at the carina of the trachea, there's a branching out. Okay, so you have to the left, there's the left bronchioles, there's the right bronchioles, there's the left lung, there's the right lung. So under the bronchiole, you now have the bronchi. Bronchi is where you have the cells and the capillaries, where there is transfer of oxygen or of CO2, depending on where we are coming from. So we look at the digestive system. Okay, so this is the system that is responsible for us getting the nutrients that the body run with. Okay, so one of the most important purpose of food, the food serves as a cellular fuel. The same way your car needs fuel, that's the same way your cells need fuel. So the food we eat, the carbohydrate, the protein, the fat, they are used by the cell as a source of energy to keep alive. Okay. So also there are also important nutrients in the food, the essential amino acid. The amino acid, our body can make them themselves. So these nutrients can be, when they're extracted, the carbohydrate, the protein from the body can use it to produce some amino acid and good fat. You know, there's good fat, there's bad fat. That's the LDL and the other one. Then the vitamins and minerals that our cells need to keep their machinery working. So when food enters your body, what happens first? You chew it or you swallow it, depending on the type of food. The system is saying we're having technical difficulty. Please, are you hearing me? Student, please, you can do response via chat. Okay, you can do response via chat so that I know. Can you hear me? The system is showing me that there is a technical fault. So ensure, can you respond via chat so that I'll know whether you're hearing me? Okay, so when you eat food, you chew it in your mouth, you break it down into a mush that the stomach acid can now penetrate. As you break it down, you push it down, you swallow it, it goes down. Now the stomach acid works on it, okay? Works on it, then the enzyme break the food into components that are useful in the body. So finally, after that, it passed through the intestine. There's the small intestine, there's the large intestine. Then it squeezes, okay, through the surface of those intestines, and it's there that the nutrients will be extracted as much as possible. The intestine will be extracting as much as possible the relevant nutrient. Okay, so when it's extracted, you have your liver there. Okay, the liver, what the work of the liver will now bring some substance, okay, that will now help to break down, okay, like emulsification of fat. It brings out some substance that help to break down your food. Not only breaking down the food, break down the toxins, okay, in the blood, or the toxins in the blood. So that's what we call detoxification. So if there are toxins that are in the system, also the liver have system like the cytochrome P450 and other liver enzymes to break it down. Okay, so when these are broken down, once this nutrient has been extracted from the food, they are now distributed to the cells by what? The circulatory system. So the nutrients that are needed for the brain, needed for the eye, needed for the nose, needed for every part of the body, even to the legs and even to your nails and even to your hair, they are now distributed, okay, through this circulatory system. So you see that one system can be interdependent with the other system. Now, the digestive and the excretory system also expels solid waste. So when you eat food, when you eat amala and egusi soup, okay, the system, the liver, the enzymes, the intestine, and all of them, when they extract the nutrient, there are things that are not useful. There are chaffs that are not useful. Then the digestive system will push it through the bum bum, and it's pushed away through the urethra. Some go as liquid, some go as solid. Okay, so this is the digestive system. You have the mouth, the salivary gland. The salivary gland is for lubrication, and also there are some enzymes there. It goes to the esophagus, then down to the liver where things are broken down in the liver. Okay, that's the gallbladder. Then to this is the stomach. Okay, then this is the large intestine. This is the small intestine. Then after I squeeze everything extracted, you know, the liver, the work of the liver is to what? To break down and to detoxify. Okay, so when everything is squeezed, everything has been extracted into the circulatory system, then the solid waste is now pushed through the annulus, palm, and that's the end of that. Okay, so we look at the cardiovascular or the circulatory system. If we notice that the last system we discussed, the digestive system, we also saw that the circulatory system plays a part. So circulatory and cardiovascular system is responsible for moving around the body systems, oxygen, nutrients, hormones, waste products. Okay, so they are moved around the body system. Oxygen is brought in, carbohydrate is carbon dioxide is moved out, nutrients are moved around the body system through what? The circulatory system. So the main organs, they are the heart, the arteries, and the vein. Okay, so the heart, these are the cardiovascular system. The cardiovascular system is highly efficient system for moving substance around in the body. You know, the heart is pumping, we generating the force and the energy for the blood to move around the entire body to distribute nutrients and also to remove waste. So the body entire blood volume takes about a minute to circulate. It's amazing. All the blood in your body, about a minute, circulate from up to down. Okay, so it's a very fast expressway for distributing oxygen and nutrients and messages and removing waste. You know, lymph and all those things are distributed with the speed of light. In a minute, piam, everything is distributed. The heart is the central pump, as we mentioned earlier on, for the circulatory system. So it sends blood through the body at a very high speed. That's why when you see a cut, okay, maybe you're killing chicken, immediately you cut it, you see the way the blood is coming out, because that is the rate the heart is pumping it. So this, why it's doing that is to ensure that oxygen is always available to every cell and every tissue, because in the absence of oxygen, okay, the cell will die. Oxygen is needed for cell to work. So the artery, we've talked about the heart, which is the main pump. It's a very large organ with a lot of components. Okay, so later you read up all those components. The artery are the oxygen delivery system, you know, that carry the blood, oxygenated blood. There is what we call the oxygenated blood, and there's what we call the deoxygenated blood. The oxygenated blood is the blood that have oxygen in it. So they are carried through the artery at high speed and pressure. They don't only contain the blood, they also have smooth muscle which contract to keep the blood going. So at the heart pump, the arteries contract to keep the blood flowing. Do you get it? So they also add their own pressure to support the pressure from the heart. And even that contract even far away from the heart, even the arteries that are very, very far from the heart, they still contract. Okay, so that's why when there is injury to the artery, it's dangerous to life. So if a person have a cut, if it's not stopped, it can lead to death. Why? Because the blood will just drain out from that source very fast. Then all the cells that are supposed to receive that blood, what happened to them? Those cells will have no blood to receive. You know, if you watch National Geographic channel, you notice that when a lion wants to kill, it goes to the neck of whatever I want to kill. What? Why is he doing that? It's going for the carotid artery. Carotid artery is one of the biggest artery. So immediately it breaks that carotid artery or it stops that carotid artery, it can frustrate, it can suffocate the organism. So now, or the animal, the vein will now return blood to the heart after oxygen has been removed. So the artery, in the artery we have oxygenated blood. So when that artery has carried the blood around the heart, around the body, now the oxygen is removed from the blood, then the carbon dioxide that all these cells has produced, okay, will now be sent through the artery, okay, then the blood will take that, the system will take that blood to the lungs. At the lung surface, at the capillaries, those carbon dioxide will be extracted. Then we breathe it out. So when we breathe out, oh boy, this is amazing. God is awesome. So when we breathe out, what happens? We are pushing away the carbon dioxide that all the individual cells, okay, all the individual cells have been able to produce when they are walking. It's a byproduct of their normal works. You see how awesome God is, and all these things are working even without your consciousness. Okay, so the blood in the vein, they move a little bit slower and at lower pressure. Okay, so at the first level of the circulatory system, you have tiny blood vessels called capillaries. Okay, so close to I'll show you later. You have the capillaries, they are very small. Okay, so this one carry blood to the tissue. Okay, so they take blood, they pass blood flow close to every cells. The capillary helps to ensure that there is a blood flow to every cell. Okay, they are very tiny because the cells are tiny. So most bleeding from superficial cut comes from blood seeping from these tiny, often microscopic blood vessels. So there are times you have an abrasion in your heart, you see little blood, they are coming from the capillaries. Okay, but if the cut is major, it will be coming from the arteries. Then again, it also allows the adrenal gland, in addition to the oxygen and nutrients. Take note, this is very important. The circulatory system also transports chemical messages. I mentioned before, lymph, hormone, they are carried around. So it allows the adrenal glands, for example, to send messages, that cause the body to prepare for fight or flight. Okay, so the lymphatic membrane, the adrenal gland, they produce hormone that prepare you from fighting or from flying, running away. Okay, so and all these things are also carried by the circulatory system. Lastly, of course, the circulatory system performs vital tasks of what? Carrying waste product. I've already mentioned it, away from the cell. So it delivers carbon dioxide to the lungs and other toxins to the liver and kidney to be destroyed and excreted. So to the lungs, the carbon dioxide goes and you exhale it. Then to the kidney and to the livers, all the toxins, all the unnecessary things are taken there to be broken down, okay, to be made more hydrophilic, more hydrophilic. We have what we call oxidation process, reduction process, hydrolysis process. These are some of the processes that go on through the liver to ensure that those things that the body don't need are detoxified. Okay, so in the oxidation process, what the liver does is it puts in oxygen. Okay, it puts in oxygen. In reduction process, it acts water molecule. Hydrolysis adds water molecule to make those things more soluble. That's in the liver, to make it more soluble for them to pass through the kidney and be excreted out of the body. So this is just an example of the circulatory system. So if you look at the blue ones are the arteries. The arteries carry what? Oxygenated blood. So these are the capillaries. We mentioned that the capillaries are the small ones that are close to cells. So this is the capillary to the lungs, and this is also the capillary moving away from the lungs. Okay, from the capillaries, you now move to bigger veins. So you have the veins. The veins, you see the color of the veins are red, and in the veins, as we mentioned, they just something to, as we mentioned, in the vein carry what? Deoxygenated blood. And we say the artery carries oxygenated blood. So the heart is pumping. As it's pumping, oxygenated, deoxygenated. So it continues. So this is the circulatory system. So let's look at the renal and the urinary system. Okay, so the responsibility of the renal system and the urinary system is to clean dissolved waste products from the blood and excrete them. So, and we have the kidney and the bladder. So we mean the waste product from the blood, the waste product that has been what? Dissolved. Okay, the waste product that has been oxygenated, metabolized. The renal and urinary system is responsible for it to go away from bloodstream. So it keeps our body healthy by moving away all these byproducts. Okay, so all the blood passed through the kidney, all the blood passed through the lung, all the blood passed through the kidney. Okay, so when it's passing through the kidney, there's a filtration system. You see the glomerulus, the kidney nephron. Okay, so they see a system where all those unnecessary things are filtered off and the neat blood continues going. So the waste liquid that is filtered out of the kidney will now be stored in your bladder until the body is willing to remove it. That's when you say, I'm going to urinate. You're going to urinate simply means you are going to expel the waste liquid that are stored in your bladder through the kidney extraction of those liquids. So that's what it means to go to urinate. So this is the structure of the urinary system, and you have you see the arteries, and you see the veins. So you have the aorta, you have the right kidney. The major responsibility of the right kidney is responsible for the formation of urine and also help to regulate water balance in the body. That's why when it's so cold, you'll be urinating more, okay, because there's much fluid. Okay, so this help to reduce the water balance. Then the urethra we now will transport the urine to the bladder. Okay, the urethra. Okay, so you have the urethra does the transport, then you get to the urethra. So, and the urinary bladder, where it is now stored in the urinary bladder as the reservoir. Then when you want to remove it, okay, when you are pressed, it now goes through the urethra, goes through the penis for male or vagina for female, and is expelled from the body. So let's look at another important system in the body. It's called the endocrine system. The endocrine system is a very important system. As I mentioned last week, it's like a system at the background. The endocrine system is responsible for what? Producing hormones. And tissues of the pineal gland. Okay, so it includes hormone producing tissue. It includes tissues of the pineal gland. It includes tissues of the pituitary gland in the brain, in the thyroid. I'm going to show you that later. The adrenal gland, the pancreas, and the ovaries and the testes. So this is mainly responsible for producing hormones. Hormones is responsible for ensuring there is balance in the system. There's coordination in the system. Okay, so these hormones, okay, each of these messages have its own unique purpose. The hormones have chemical messages. Do you understand? They can tell you, oh, they help us to respond. They help us to understand the environment. They help us to decipher. Okay, so they have chemical messages to which the other systems in the body will realize and take action. So a hormone can be released to a system in the body, then the system will cause an organ to respond in a way so that even you that is looking at the person, you will see the impact of those chemical coordinations in the body. So the endocrine system will allow the body to respond to environmental changes and other types of survival changes. So it's a system for help us to respond. So it's like a fight, flight, reproductive, hungry and full signal system. Okay, so let's look at the fight or flight. When there's a threat in an environment, what happens? The adrenal gland will secrete adrenaline. Adrenaline, the adrenaline is a chemical messenger. That adrenaline will trigger information to the heart. The heart will begin to pump. Have you seen where something just happened? People's hearts will begin to read. They'll be so that's what happened because of the message that is released. So when that message is released, the heart is pumped faster, the breathing deepens to take in more oxygen. Why more oxygen? Because as you take in more oxygen, there's more available oxygen to the cells. The cells will work faster and generate, break down more food molecules and generate more energy to fight or to flight or to run away, depending on the basic scenario. Then the nervous system will now shaping perception and memory formation to interpret and let you know, oh, this is actually the reason. This is actually what is happening. So when all these things happen, the body is now ready to fight. or flee from a potential threat, depending on the information the nervous system communicates and depending on each individual's historical experience, okay, from the messaging that has been stored in your brain and in your subconscious mind. So with those things, it interprets and determines the course of action the person takes. So also the reproductive signals is there. So when the body is ready to reproduce, what will happen? The ovaries or the testes will send chemical messengers that will what also affect the organ, including the brain. Okay. For the female reproductive system, it will prepare the uterus for what? Pregnancy. Okay, which involve a cascade of chemical messages that repeat on a monthly cycle. Okay, what we talk about ovulation and all those things. Okay, so hungry or full. When the body is hungry, your stomach will also release a hormone that will tell the brain and the organ system to start looking for food. Okay. So when the body is full, on the other hand, another hormone is also released to tell your body that, okay, you are full. It's time to leave that bowl of eba. So this is just a brief. I hope you can see this. So you see the hypothalamus, the brain region, it controls the pituitary gland. And the pituitary gland secretes many different hormones that affect what? Our glands. Okay, so if we look at the male, the thyroid gland affects metabolism, among other things. You look at the parathyroid, it helps to regulate the level of calcium in the blood, which is important. Okay, if there's excessive calcium in the blood, the heart will be working more. And if the heart is working more, there will be increase in blood pressure. And if there's a level, there will be increase in blood pressure, it can lead to the collapse of the arteries. And that's what we call stroke. Okay, so this the adrenaline glands, it helps to trigger fight or flight response. So when there is threat in the environment, it's the adrenaline gland that is involved, close to the kidney, close to the kidney. So you have the pancreatic. The pancreas regulate the level of sugars. No, this one very important. Okay, regulate the level of sugar. It produces the hormone, insulin, and co. Okay, for sugar regulation. Then you have testes. The testes secretes the male hormones, the male sexual hormones, whereas the ovary secretes the female sexual hormone. Okay, so this is just a brief of the endocrine system in the body. So let's look at the nervous system. The nervous system helps us to, allow for perception, emotion, touch, and rapid response to the environment. So it works with the brain and the nerves, both the central nervous and the peripheral nervous. Okay. So the work of the nervous system is to help with what? Perception, interpretation, emotion, thought, response to the environment. Okay. So the nervous system will allow us to sense a stimuli such as light. Okay, if they take light now, it's the nervous system that will tell us that, no or more light. Okay, it will communicate, then you take an action. So it helps to sense a stimuli such as the light, sound, smell, touch from our environment. And when it sends it, it will now communicate the stimuli within our body system. Okay, such as, let's say, when somebody pricks you, it will communicate that this thing is painful, this thing is painful. Or when your hand touches a hot surface, the nervous system will communicate, this is painful, remove it, it's dangerous to the skin. Okay, so people that have problem with their nervous system, okay, they can put their hand in a hot place and they will not know. They'll be talking to you. They will not know that their hand is burning until they see that, until they want to take it and they see, my hand has burnt. Are you getting? So the nervous system is important for sensation of pain, illness, or wellness. It also gives our brain a huge central processing unit. It's like the CPU, okay, of our brain. The computer and data center of our brain is the nervous system. Okay, so it gives us a huge central processing system that combines with all these stimuli from experiences, then tags, it records the memory, it produces emotional response, it decodes and uncodes, it thinks, it sends signals, then the human body takes action. Another important thing is that it allows our brain to send signals to back our body and enable us to respond to the environment. So I mentioned it before. The brain, the nervous system will allow the brain to send signal that will tell the body, this is how to respond. This guy hates you. Look at the way he's talking. Leave that place. Ah, there is danger. Can't you see somebody that run that place? He's running with a gun. Why not take off? Oh, this thing is hot. Oh, or can't you see that this thing is shocking? Remove your hand before it electrocutes you. So it's a very good system. The brain can be thought of as a control center. So the brain receives the data, analyze the data, interpret the data, then send a communication to the body. It commands the body on what to do. The nervous system, how does it achieve this? It uses very highly specialized cells that are called the neuron. Specialized, more, okay, they transmit signal at very fast rate by firing what? Electrochemical potential. Their rate is very fast. This is the way it transmits signal with the speed of light. So now, in order for them to do that, neurons must use high amount of energy, as much as 25% of the calorie of what we eat. So majority of the food you eat is in the brain that is being used. Okay, so the nervous system can use as much as 25% to allow us to perceive, to feel, to think, and to respond. Okay, these are the important information. Some scientists believe that the human ancestors were not able to become smart until we were able to meet the huge energy of the brain. Okay, that's scientific. Some don't believe it. Okay, it's people that are talking about evolution. Me, I don't believe in evolution. The biological evolution, as taught by scientists, a lot of them doesn't make sense. Okay, so the nervous system, we have two. Is branched into two. So you have the sympathetic nervous system, which prepare for the body to respond to intense physical activity. Okay, so it's referred to as the fight or flight response, sympathetic. If somebody annoy you, if there is an emotional trauma, this is where information pass through. Then it has a backup. The parasympathetic nervous system, has almost the exact opposite effect and relaxes the body. So when you tell somebody, calm down, calm down, calm down, and the person agrees to calm down, this is where what happens. Okay, all the system to calm the person down, the hormones, the electromagnetic, electrochemical coordination, they will all pass through the parasympathetic system. So this is the central nervous system. This is central nervous system here. And you have the peripheral nervous system. This is the periphery. This is central. The brain and the spinal cord makes up the central. Then the other nervous coordination, okay, communicating to them and connected to the brain and spinal cord. They are the peripheral nervous system. So we talked about the parasympathetic nerve and the sympathetic nerve. We say sympathetic is for flight and fight. Parasympathetic is for relaxation. So what are those things? Dilating your eye, inhibiting salivation, relax airway, increases heart rate. This is sympathetic nerve. What it does, inhibit activity of the stomach, stimulate release of glucose, and inhibit gallbladder, increase activity of the intestine. Okay, that's some people inhibit the activity of the intestine, secrete epinephrine and norepinephrine, then relaxes the bladder. Okay, so you see some people when there is a issue, a fear issue, they start urinating. Okay, so this is the parasympathetic system. What does it do? It's helping constricting the eyes, stimulating saliva, constrict airways, slow the heart rate, stimulate activity of the stomach, inhibit release of glucose, stimulate gallbladder, stimulate activity of the intestine, and also it contracts the bladder. Okay, so this one promotes erection of the genital. This one promotes ejaculation and vaginal contraction when it comes to its impact on the reproductive system. So let's look at another important system, the musculoskeletal system. These allow the body to move On command, the muscular system functions, system that allow the body to move and is also provide the structure for the body. Okay, so it has different types of muscle. We have the smooth muscle, we have the skeletal muscle, and we have the cardiac muscle. Okay, so the cardiac muscle, when the cardiac, the circulatory system is working, is actually the cardiac muscle that helps to compress, to squeeze, and to hold. You know, so for us to move, also the skeletal muscle, it squeezes, it holds it, it pulls the skeleton. Do you get it? So later you can look at it on YouTube how the skeletal muscle helps in movement. Okay, so we have endo and exoskeleton. We don't have time for that one today. And this is just a brief of the musculoskeletal system. So this is the muscular, this is the skeletal system of the body. Okay, so now we have just 4 minutes left, and I would love us to just take questions and comment before we round up the class. We have 4 minutes left. We still have about 3 systems to discuss. We will briefly look at it as we start next week. Then next week also we'll be entering into pharmacological drugs. We'll be looking at drugs that act on this system and how they act. Okay, so can I have questions? Questions? Please, coordinator, administrator, can you unmute the students so that we can take questions? So let me call the coordinator. But you can send it via chat.
Hello, sir. Hello?
So there you can unmute yourself.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hello? Yes, I'm with you.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. Afternoon.
Hello. Hello?
I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
Good
Can you hear
afternoon.
me?
Hello, sir.
Afternoon. I can hear you.
Yes, sir. Please, sir, I need sir, the assignment, sir. I don't see the last one.
The assignment.
Sir. I've not written the last one assignment. Yes, sir. The last one, I've not written it. And the email and your phone number.
This is the assignment.
Hello?
Can
Yes.
you see the assignment?
I've not seen it, oh. No, sir. The last one, I've not seen it.
Are you seeing it now?
Okay, I've seen the last one, sir. What of your email and your phone number, sir? Your email and your phone number.
I'll send my email to the. I've tested my email. Are you just coming in? Because I sent my email on the chat before.
No, sir.
I'll send it again. Check the chat. Check the chat. innocent.ekeleme@gmail.com. I'm sending my email on the chat.
Before, sir.
Check the chat. Check the chat. My email is there.
I'm not through with the assignment. I'm writing it down.
Have you seen it now?
Hello, sir.
Have you seen the assignment?
I don't see it. Yes, yes. I'm
but
not through with it, sir.
Okay.
Sir, what of the email? The email, sir.
Email,
And your phone number.
chat.
Your email
I've
and your phone
sent it
number.
via chat.
Sir?
Check the chat. Oh, check the chat. Do you know the chat point? That's my email. And this
Hello?
is my phone number. Hello?
No, sir. The network here is not
Have you
even
seen
good,
the
sir.
chat? Do you know the chat? Do you know how to check?
Network is not good. I can't hear you very well.
Okay, my time is up. Reach your coordinator. They can get across to me through
Hello?
your coordinator. Our time is up. Thank you.
Sir?